Hi there and welcome to this week's Throwback Thursday. And today I'm talking all about how you negotiate as a buyer. Do you always get the very best deal? Well, now is the time to find out how to do exactly that. So stay tuned to find out more. Today we are going to be covering in our 10-minute slot how to ask for an amazing deal. So we're actually talking about how to ask and start a negotiation when you want to buy something. So shall we get started? Those of you who haven't met before, this is my co-host, Pirate Pete. He's going to keep us to time. Hi, Tiana. He's going to keep us to time today. So I'm going to put, he was on holiday last week. I was in Coniston, he stayed here, so he had his holidays. So he's obviously got all carried away with his 10-minute-ness. Hi, Pirate Pete. Oh, look, he's waving. Waving back, woohoo! Right, so today what I want to talk about is how to ask for a deal, because as sellers, quite often when we think about negotiation, we think about how we're going to respond or how we're going to negotiate and sell to someone. But actually, it's really important for us in business to be able to ask for a really great deal as well. And that's what I really want to talk about today for two reasons. One is it's really helpful for everyone in their business. Hi, Nabili. It's really great to be able to ask that. It's a good thing to be able to do within your own business. The second thing is that actually, even as a seller, we can learn from that because we can start to think in advance about actually how we would respond to that or how we would handle that situation ourselves if we were asked that question when we're selling to someone. So, my number one tip is ask for a deal. Just ask. It sounds crazy, but I think so often someone gives us a price for something and we just go, oh, okay. Now, sometimes we do that and there's really good reasons for that. And the really good reasons are we already think it's an amazing deal and actually we're quite happy with that price. It might be that we've already been out there and looked at the options and we think that's the very best deal that there is available to us at the time. Or it might be that actually we say, oh yeah, okay, but we don't really mean it and we're not going to buy it down the line. Hi, Alice, yes. Whatever it might be, that's the first thing though. We need to ask. So if you don't ask, you don't get. So if you want a deal, you've got to ask for it. The second thing is that you need to ask for a deal. I mean it. Honestly, we're back at the same point. You've got to ask. You know the third point? You've got to ask. So, if we've all got it, that you've got to ask, the real question here is how do we do it and how do we do that really, really well? And actually, how do we do that while preserving our relationship? Because I think sometimes we feel that because we've got a really good relationship with someone, we don't want to upset them or anything like that. We think, oh, we don't want them to think that we're being difficult or whatever it might be. So, that's not the case. The case is it's perfectly acceptable to ask for a deal. It's just about how you do it. So there's a few different things that you can do around that. The first thing, one of my favourite things to do is ask them and say, okay, is there any movement on that price? And I'll ask that question so I can look at their face. And it's actually far easier to do this when you are face to face with people because normally you can tell. They might go, and you think there's movement. Or they might go, no. And you think, oh, it's going to be a tough one. So first thing is ask, is there any movement? And if you do think there's going to be some movement because their response, then ask the next question. And the next question is something logical like, okay, so if there is a bit of movement, what were you thinking? Where do you think we can get to on this price? So actually you're putting the ball back in their court. Now I really like that as a technique because I'm asking them to come up with a secondary price. What I'm not doing is I'm not actually coming on board and I'm not saying, well, I'll give you X, Y, Z for it. And that's really important because actually, in the grand scheme of things, I don't want to start with where I am at this point in time. I don't want to show my hand. So if you actually push across to them, then that gives them the opportunity to revise maybe their price or what they're offering without you having to say what you're actually looking for. And sometimes that means you can get an amazing deal. And you can get a completely amazing deal because they offer something way below what you were expecting or way more in terms of what they're prepared to offer for what the money you're talking about. So that's a great way to do it. Ask the question and then push back to them. What do you think? Okay, so next thing that we can do. One of the common things people do is they'll say, look, can you give me your best price? What's your best price? Given that, And then they'll give some justification on that. So for example, given that we're a cash buyer, we're going to buy 2,000 of these off you, and we're going to actually be able to pay cash on delivery. Given that, what is your best price? That's a lovely way of actually introducing what you're bringing to the table and actually what you're offering to the seller, because not all buyers are equal. As salespeople, we know not everyone who's buying off us is the same. They're not all the same because they all offer different things. If I'm selling to someone who I know is a bad payer, I might be really reluctant to do anything about my price because I know that I'm going to have to chase them for that money. If I'm talking to someone who's going to pay me up front, that's just saved me a whole heap of time and therefore money. So always think about, what can I offer that's of value to the seller? Can I offer a way of paying? Can I offer an assurance? Can I give them a volume level that means that they're making that little bit extra profit, that maybe they can actually come down in price a bit? So really think about, as a buyer, what can I offer? And actually share that with the seller, because again, we don't always do it. It's one of those things, if anyone watches the property shows, if you watch location, they always do it on that. Kirsty and Phil are always going, and they're really motivated and they've got no chain and they're cash and blah, blah. And it's because these are things which have a value to a seller. And the value to the seller in that situation is that it's going to allow them to move quickly, effectively, and actually with someone who's committed and they're not going to pull out halfway through the process. So there's a couple of things there. What else can we do? I think the other thing is that you can come back on a negotiation. So once you've asked for their best price, let's say they give you a figure, and you then come back and think, well, actually, that's a really good price, but it's still not good enough for me. It's still not what I'm looking for. You need to go back and tell them again. So it's not just about asking once. It's sometimes about going back and asking again and justifying why. So saying, right, that's fantastic. I'm really pleased about that. It's great to know that we can start to talk about this. What I was thinking was a figure more in X region. And the reason for that is because, and again, justify yourself. Why is it that you're looking at a price in that region? The other thing you could say is, well, actually, I'd love to do that. But you know what? My budget is more like Y. So what can you offer me at that level? So the other thing that I'm actually doing there is I'm pushing back on them and I'm saying, look, actually, this is the price here. Tell me what you can give me for that amount of money. So budget is really important. That's something there to do. Hey. Just joining there. So there are a few of the key things. So the key stuff here is ask. And once you've asked, don't be afraid to ask again. Of course, the great thing about sales, it's all about relationships. So as long as you've got the relationship, you should feel really comfortable about applying a couple of these techniques to actually do that. I'm not selling anything. I'm talking to you about how to get a great deal on what you're actually trying to buy for your business or personally. So just to go back on the key points there. How are we going to ask? The first thing is we're going to ask them if we think there's any negotiation on that, and we're going to read off them as much as we can if we think that is the case. Based on that, the knockback question, we're going to go there. So you want to buy equipment. Yeah, so if you want to buy equipment for small office, the way that you could actually do that is you'd say, okay, I want to buy 10 tables. They come back with you the price, and you can go, okay, as it's 10 tables, what would be the very best offering that you could give me that? What's the very best price you could give me for that? And if they said it was, I don't know, £1,000, then that gives you the opportunity to say, okay, is there any more movement on that? And that's when you need to read their face. And if they go, you can go, okay, so we've got a bit of movement. What was the price you were actually thinking about? What's the price you're thinking about? And the trick is to then stop. Because again, the other thing that we do is we talk ourselves out of a deal. We don't give people thinking time. That's Pirate Pete. For those who new on tonight's sales scope, Pirate Pete gives us the time. What about online sales? Can't see their expressions. That is so true. So true. If it's online sales, it depends if you're dealing with a person or a computer screen. If you're dealing with a computer screen, you know what? You've got no chance. So for me, what I'd be looking at doing is I'd be looking at saying, you know what, really, I'd feel more comfortable about talking with someone about that. And I'd pick up the phone and deal with their sales team or their sales director or whoever it might be. So for me, that would be my approach. especially if you're trying to like buy an online shop, you just have no negotiating power at all. So you need to speak to someone. If you are speaking to someone, try and get it face to face. Try and get a Skype in. Skype is brilliant for this because it gives you some of the benefit. If you can't do Skype, then in that case, at least get them on the phone, hear it on their voice.
So let me know, what amazing deals have you negotiated? I'd love to hear in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's episode, then hit the subscribe button, ding that bell, and until next time, remember to be sales-tastic.